Hey everybody, Banana here, coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be talking about Vagabond. So, before we get into it, can I just say this is going to be one of the videos I put a lot of effort into. So if you do like it, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know if you want more videos like this in the future. Anyhow, this is the Great Banana, and let's talk about Vagabond. Alright, so before I talk about Vagabond, I want you guys to know how I read it. I read it online first, yada yada yada, and from what I heard, the paneling and artwork were just top tier, and you can't really get that from a digital. So I bought all of the Viz Bigs for this video. Every Viz Big I could find, and then I tracked down the individual volumes that don't come with the Viz Big. So, for all you guys wondering how I read my stuff, usually I read it online, and if I really do enjoy it, I buy the physical editions. That way I don't, spend a bunch of money on a manga series that I don't like, and then I'm stuck with it. But yeah, I'm going to tell you guys, just read it online, and if you really love it, go support your artist, because they need it, and so do the publishing company, so we can get more stories like this. So, in case you live under a rock and don't know what Vagabond is, or you're not like into weeb culture like I am, Vagabond is the story of Miyamoto Musashi, sorry. And basically it's his story besides like the Buddhism parts. It covers his early life, which was never talked about since the artist came up with the idea to do it, and it's based off of a a historical fiction book of the same name, just called Musashi. And I would recommend the book too. I got the audiobook to listen along with after I finished the series. So, um, it's basically a graphic novel at this point, right? Anyhow, it basically covers how he became the Musashi we know, which is pretty cool. We also get some other characters along the way. We get his best friend slash king bastard, Marahashi, who is basically like what Musashi could have been if he was a coward. And nothing's wrong with Marahashi. He does go through his own character arcs, and we get all sorts of side characters that do come back later, which is pretty dope, I gotta say. Mainly, though, the story focuses on Musashi as he develops as a person, and we see him find goals to become the strongest. And I'm not just talking like Baki strongest, he wants to be invincible under the sun. That means he wins every duel, which is pretty cool, I gotta admit. Anyhow, for the first few chapters, it covers how he went to war and how he became Musashi, because originally he was Takezo, which is pretty cool. Like, he wasn't always Musashi, which he kind of becomes it after he dies and becomes devoted to the blade, which is this whole thing where he gets hunted down by his village because he's known as the betrayer, and he's known as a demon. And basically he has to fake his death and become somebody else to live this life he wants to live, which is pretty dope. Like, he's dedicated his life, which I gotta admit, that takes a lot. So begins his travels to become the strongest, and he travels land to land and yada yada yada. He cultivates his strength. If you know anything about Musashi, you basically know a little bit about the story and how it's going to go, even if you read the historical fiction piece, which is pretty good. I would recommend the historical fiction piece as well. Now, the thing about the story that is really good is just the way the storytelling goes, and the art is beautiful in every panel. Like, let me tell you, I thought it was beautiful digitally. Ever since I got the physical editions, the artwork is perfect. Like, and I'm very particular about my books and stuff. Like, I don't want to rip a page or like it fall apart like Viz Bigs normally do. So I've been like extra careful, but the art is so good to look at. Like, I kid you not, you might see some of the panelings I'm gonna be showing in the video, and you're gonna be like, wow, that looks okay, but you see it in person, it's beautiful. Anyhow, spoilers for a story that's been going on pretty long. Not only do you get Musashi's point of view, but you also get a little bit about another known samurai. That's right, we're talking about Sasaki Kojiro. And the thing about Kojiro that's pretty cool is that in this story he is deaf and mute. So, I mean, that's pretty cool, right? It shows that this man is, there's two different sides of the blade. There's one that was born into the blade, like Sasaki Kojiro was, and then you have Miyamoto Musashi, who basically devoted himself to the blade, to where they take it to where Kojiro's only way to communicate is through sword fights. Like, he fights an opponent and he's like, "Oh, I understand you now. We're one and the same." And then It's pretty cool. The way he handles the storytelling is pretty neat. Just the progression of the stories, it makes sense. And when Kojiro gets introduced, we get a whole segment devoted to him. Like, I'm talking like a couple volumes worth of Kojiro stuff. It eventually loops back to where the story starts, and we find out that Miyamoto Musashi and Kojiro actually met at one point during one of the battles, which is pretty cool. Like, they ran into each other. They didn't duel or anything, but like they met each other and they fought by each other's sides, which is pretty cool. I gotta admit, like that's pretty dope how the story eventually wraps back into itself, and we get caught back up to where Miyamoto currently is through the story of Kojiro. Now, the one thing about this series is the hiatus. This has like been an indefinite hiatus, and everybody goes, "Hey, it's coming back this year." It's not like Berserk. A little known thing about Berserk is the series always goes on hiatus, and it sucks. Because if you're a big Berserk fan and you want to know how it ends, well, guess what? We're gonna be like 800 years old by the time like Kentaro Miyamoto is gonna outlive us all. Let's be honest. But so this hiatus happened because the artwork started tapering off, and he came the mangaka, the manga artist decided he was gonna put this on hold, and he made a new series. It's pretty cool. It's by the same guy that made Slam Dunk. If you know what Slam Dunk is, if not, I'm going to finish Slam Dunk, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Slam Dunk when I finish it. So get ready for that video. One thing I have to say about this is the fight choreography is really well done. One thing about series is sometimes the fight choreography is very bulky. Like the story can be great, and then it gets to a fight, and it's hard to keep track. This happens in like Baki and stuff like that, to where you have a clear sense of the fight, but you kind of look at the paneling and it doesn't make sense. To where this, like, you can actually just like keep up with it. It's kind of like why I like King and Ashura, is because it keeps up with the paneling and stuff. Like all the fights follow a similar choreography, and you can keep up with the choreography. That's one of the things why I have a love-hate relationship about Dragon Ball's choreography. But enough about that. We're talking about Vagabond and why I love it so much. So personal story time. So here, buckle in for a great banana tale. Vagabond's one of those stories that I kept getting like told online to read. Like, you have to read Vagabond. It's better than Berserk. And you know what? My opinion, it's probably better than Berserk, but Berserk will actually end and Vagabond won't. Even though you know how Vagabond ends. Like, we know what's gonna happen if you know anything about history. But you know, it speaks to me because everybody wants to be the strongest at one point. Everybody has a goal to be invincible in some aspect under the sun. Musashi just kind of made it into the sword, and it kind of romanticizes this period we can no longer live in, which I really enjoy. Like, I love it. I love this idea of just being strong under the sun, and we can't do that in our time period. And this story kind of gives us like that fictional take into that world, which I mean I can agree with. It's not the best piece of samurai fiction, but it's a good piece of seinen if you do enjoy stories like Berserk. So yeah, that's my little personal take on this story. So yeah, there it is, banana time over. So anyhow, I would highly recommend you guys reading Vagabond, getting physical editions. It's pretty hard to get them right now. I barely got my Viz Bigs. I had to hunt them down and the remaining volumes to it. So get this story if you can. It doesn't go into print that often anymore, but it's very good. Highly recommend it. Read it online if you can't get a physical edition. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the level of editing I've been trying to keep up, to where I'm just not just throwing things. I'm kind of trying to correlate. Please let me know if you guys enjoy that. Once again, this has been The Great Banana, and I am out.